Hello and welcome to another edition of the TheGreyVillain SportsCast. My name is Justin.
And I'm DJ.
And this episode we will be recapping the 49ers-Seahawks game, which just ended, the NFL Week 17 and NFL Playoff Preview. We're going to start off here with the Seahawks first half. Give us your impression, DJ.
First half, I don't think they had much of a game plan. They were too thrown off by the whole complexion of Marshawn Lynch coming back. And so play calls were just really weird in the first half. They seemed to have no rhythm, maybe too much focus on Marshawn Lynch and not enough on who actually was probably one of the players of the game, and Travis Homer.
I kind of wanted them to see using Lynch more in the passing game. I mean, it's something that they even pointed out in the broadcast, that every time Lynch is in there, they know that it's going to be a run play, or he's at least not going to be involved in the passing game at all. So why even, they're keying on him and, prove them wrong. And instead we didn't do that. We did play Travis Homer quite a bit, and he had a very nice game.
He made several big catches, runs. He was really one of the players of the game, along with DK Metcalf.
Defense, does it exist?
In the first half, no. The first half, the fact that we were only down 13-0 at half was rather amazing. I was surprised. I was very dejected just the way the Seahawks offense ran. They had the one drive there at the end of the half where they could have put some points on the board and didn't. But the defense, for the most part, I guess it buckled down when it needed to and held them to a couple field goals, which is kind of the Seahawks' MO. But they weren't getting any pressure on Jimmy Garoppolo. Clowney was nowhere to be found. They had bad tackling on the Deebo Samuel end around. They had bad tackling on some couple other plays. The only one that knew how to tackle really was KJ Wright. And
he seems to he's always, for his whole career, he loves going after screen passes. Do you think that he just gets an alert? Or does it, like a smell happen? What do you think he's seeing?
He does have some kind of smell. He's like...
It's like cupcakes.
Like he picks the grass up and throws it in the air.
Yeah.
And then he gets a sense. It's really kind of amazing because he had some bone-jarring hits on two plays. One that was almost gave the Seahawks a huge boost at the end of the first half that almost was a fumble. And then another one on George Kittle on the first drive of the second half, where you saw the replays and Kittle's like, wow, I just got my bell rung.
Yeah, KJ Wright, fantastic. One of the most underrated linebackers.
Seahawks, for sure.
Been here the longest, and fantastic. The Seahawks' second half, this game was a tale of two halves. What was our overall impression of the second half?
Second half, I liked the play calling much more. They moved Russell Wilson around a lot more, and they got Travis Homer involved. Travis Homer was the difference in the offense, and it opened things up. It allowed the rush to stay off Russell Wilson because you had this little scat back that was catching, either running for 8 yards at a time or he was catching passes. It opened everything up. It gave DK Metcalf, who had another big game, gave him opportunities. So the more they moved Russell around, the more they gave it to Homer, the more they succeeded.
Are we watching the beginning of something great with DK Metcalf? Has this season been the beginnings of a great career, or one that's kind of not
this
good enough?
This game previewed two of the best up-and-coming rookie wide receivers in the game right now with Metcalf and Deebo Samuel. They're not even anything alike, but they are two very bright, shining stars, and the NFL is better off for it.
Lano Hill's contribution.
Yeah, he took the header right there to the thigh. They gave that really probably saved any chance of our season because it gave the 49ers a 15-yard penalty. So outside of getting burned on a couple other plays, yeah, good job. You took the helmet to a thigh from an overly aggressive offensive guard. Good job.
Lano Hill, I hate that he's on the field. Had he not been on the field, had Quandre Diggs actually been healthy, then this game probably would have ended up differently.
I believe so. Quandre Diggs is a huge, huge piece to be missing.
And Lano Hill sucks. And Tedrick Thompson, who didn't even get on the field,
I do believe
gone.
This matchup will happen again in 2 weeks.
Well, we'll get to that here soon enough. Beast Mode's Beast Moment.
Unfinished business is finished. It was unfortunate that the way the game ended, he could have had another beast mode moment there. But there's going to be some questions asked about that one, because how you can possibly have that happen where you take a 5-yard penalty because the play clock runs down. In that situation, somebody's got it. Somebody.
So was that misuse of timeouts? Or we were just like too easy with the timeouts, or should they have, I guess, a revisionist history can look back and say, oh, well, they should have been more concerned about the time because they could have had more time. They needed as much time. What's your impression of the management or mismanagement of the time at the end of the game?
I thought for the most part they did really well managing the time, because you're sitting there, you're moving down the field, and all of a sudden you were yelling like, DK, go out of bounds, right? When he caught that ball, and he's heading down there and he drives the guy back for another 5 yards and then goes out of bounds. But we still got a minute left with 2 timeouts, and it's like, you don't want to score too quickly, right? You don't want to give the ball back to them with 45 seconds and them having 2 timeouts.
Because we would have only been up by 2 points.
3, you could have made it 3 if you went for 2. You could have been 29-26. And so that's definitely what they would have done. They would have tried and safeguarded themselves from being beat by a last-second field goal.
Yeah, but I mean, that's not only executing on the touchdown, but then executing on a 2-point conversion just so that you can get to a tie in the course of a field goal. I will say that I
cannot believe that they did not buzz down and look at that pass interference in the end zone. That was beyond anything I've seen. They have to at least look at these close plays. This is the whole reason why you don't give coaches challenges, right? Is because the booth is supposed to review things. Even the guy on the broadcast says he's surprised that New York didn't buzz down and look at it.
Well, that's why you should be giving coaches...
This is what anything close in these type of games with so much is riding on. This is playoff seeding, everything. This is why they have review. This is the kind of thing that has to be reviewed.
In the last 2 minutes, if you believe that a coach would want something reviewed, then you automatically have to review it. That's the threshold. It's not whether you would, given circumstances. It's if you think it's questionable at all, you should review it.
You're right. If the coach would throw a challenge flag, you should be taking a look at it, because the coach doesn't have the option.
Exactly. If you're going to take away the option from the coach who has limited challenges, they would be saving it for exactly this situation. And they would have challenged it. But personally, I don't like challenging anyway. I don't like review. So I say live with it, because look what happens. Even if you have review, we still have to live with it. They could have reviewed it and said that it wasn't pass interference. Then we would have had to live with it.
I would have been okay with that, though.
At least they reviewed
it. At least look at it. There's too much writing on these things in this type of game.
Well, you can always say that they did look at it and they said it wasn't pass interference.
But they should take a second look. They should stop the game and look at it. Things are moving too quick down there for them to be like a split-second thing. Should we do it? Should we do it? No, they should just push the button, take a step back, breathe, and let's look at this with 2 eyes. Not just let's try and get a quick glance here at one quick replay, because now things are moving fast. If we don't get this, then the Seahawks got to keep moving, right? Just too much going on. New York needed to buzz down and look at that play. If they would have said, hey, we don't think that's pass interference, that's fine. They probably would have overturned it, because the overturn rate in this year is something like 10% or something. It's low. It's probably not even 10%. It's like 7 out of 84. So it's really low. But the fact that they didn't even do that in a game like this is... And when you've got one of the head refs on the broadcast...
And he said that he would do it.
Saying that New York should be looking at this, it's a really bad look for the NFL.
Kind of all just need a buzzer. And just hit the buzzer, and that works. It needs to be considered by... 10 different people, and if one of them says, yeah, you should look at that, then you should look at that. That's just good enough. It reaches the threshold that it should have been given a second look. So, yeah, our beloved Seahawks, they lose 26-21 to San Francisco. I said they didn't have much of a shot. I was sort of right for half the game, and I was sort of wrong for the other half of the game. San Francisco's still quality team.
I thought the game went pretty close. The Seahawks are never come out being a fast team. They did hold them to 2 field goals. They kept it close. They almost came up with that what could have been a big turnover at the end of the first half. They did pull out the stop to get the ball back, to give it to Russell Wilson. That's what you want, right? Is Russell Wilson with the ball in his hand and the game on the line. I asked you if before that happened, the chances are that if we get the ball back, that Russell Wilson scores and we win this game. You said 60-40. I said 75-25. We were a millimeter away. That's how close Hollister was to doing this. He was a millimeter away from breaking that pylon.
And a complete cluster of who the hell knows what was happening with our personnel as we were down there on the 1 yard line, trying to figure out where we're going.
Yeah, I have no idea what happened on that one. Someone's got to answer for that, because to lose those 5 yards is ridiculous.
Completely unacceptable. So San Francisco has the number 1 seed in the NFC, and they will be at home throughout. They're happy, I'm certain.
The Saints are very unhappy. That's who is really unhappy, is the Saints.
Yeah, getting the number 2 seed is the Green Bay Packers. They will be hosting in Lambeau, and that's going to be tough, as you were concerned about from earlier episodes. The Saints are going to be hosting the Vikings who dropped their game against the Bears earlier today, which was pretty sad, to be honest with you.
But they didn't play anybody. I mean, they literally sat like 6 starters. They had nothing to gain, nothing to lose. There's no point in getting anybody injured.
Yeah, so it was a matter of figuring out where they were going to go, and they got their tickets to New Orleans, where the Seahawks are headed to Philadelphia to face the Eagles, the winners of the NFC Least. And that's a great outcome for the Seahawks, outside of getting a week off, which I don't think was even possible.
It was not possible coming into the game tonight. So if you look at it, is it sad that we lost? Yes, it's not great. But if you look at it, this probably is the better matchup. We go to the Eagles. We've already gone to the Eagles, and we've beaten them. We handled them pretty well. They are just as banged up as us, if not more. And I don't trust that they can do anything. They went on a streak beating the NFC least teams to end of the year.
Yeah.
So take what you want for them putting up a bunch of points today against the Giants. Who cares? The Giants are awful. And then they beat the Cowboys the week before, and the week before that they beat someone else that was really crappy. They didn't play anybody the last 5 weeks, so I'm not concerned about the Eagles. If we lose the Eagles, then it's probably an issue. I would say we'd be favored versus the Eagles, and that in 2 weeks we're going to go down to San Francisco, and we're going to have a rematch here. And it's going to be a game just like this. This is how NFC West games, rivalry games, are played. Would you rather have a home game with the Vikings and then travel to New Orleans and play Drew Brees? I'd much rather go Philly and then to San Fran. And then if I had to play Drew Brees, play him in where it matters the most, where we got a chance for the Super Bowl. I don't want to play Drew Brees before the chance for the Super Bowl.
You got to face
Eagles
off
and
against
the Niners rather than the Vikings at home and then traveling to the Saints.
Yeah, I guess I would like to go up against the 49ers again for that second opponent. If I had to choose one or the other.
I don't want to face Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara, Jared Cook, the oncoming of Jared Cook. No thanks. I'll pass.
Yeah, the rise of Jared Cook. So how about that Cowboy and Redskin game? Dallas whooped on the Redskins 47-16. Does that save... Jason Garrett has not been fired to this point.
No, it doesn't save his job. He's out. There's no chance Jerry keeps him. There was already rumors that even if they made the playoffs, they'd have to win 2 games. The fact that they didn't even make the playoffs, he's done. They can't afford to keep. If I'm the rest of the NFL, hey, Jerry Jones, please keep Jason Garrett.
Yeah.
Keep him on the payroll, because I don't think he's that good of a coach. There's a lot of talent on that Dallas team, and for them to underachieve like that, I mean, it's no different than the Browns and firing Freddie Kitchens because he underachieved with all that talent.
The Rams missed the playoffs, eking out a win 31-24 over the Cardinals in LA. How comfortable should Sean McVay be in LA?
He's okay through next year. because they did come on kind of strong at the end of the year when everybody thought they were down. They did get to 9 wins, so, I mean, they were only 1 game off the Vikings. I don't think Jared Goff is good, so that's going to be his downfall, is that he's tied to Jared Goff forever.
Yeah.
So he needs to take the offseason. They need to really rediscover their relationship and their play calling and connection, because otherwise Sean McVay will be gone after next year. And they're in a really tough spot because the 49ers aren't getting any worse. Seahawks probably aren't getting any worse. They're going to at least stay the same. So, I mean, if you look at
the Cardinals are getting better.
And the Cardinals will get better. So it's going to be hard for the Rams to get better because they don't have the cap space to go and get better. They've got so many players locked up for big contracts, from Jared Goff to Brandon Cooks to Tyler Higbee to Robert Woods, and eventually they're going to have to play Cooper Kupp, who's their best player, and he's making nothing.
Yeah, right now.
You know, but they've got a bunch of money tied up to Todd Gurley. I mean, they've got to pay Jalen Ramsey too.
Yeah, they got to figure out something.
So I think he's safe through next year, but if they don't make the playoffs or they underachieve next year, then he will be out.
So the Falcons pulled off the win at Tampa, 28-22 in overtime. Dan Quinn is safe.
They had already announced that he was safe. The Falcons, they really did come through the last half of the season, right? I mean, they were something awful. They were like 2-8 or something.
They were so bad.
They were bad, and you know, they'd pull off wins versus the Saints towards the end of the year. So they pulled off some quality wins, and they saved Dan Quinn's job. Congratulations.
Good for them.
We love Dan Quinn.
Yeah, and so then AFC,
so I got this part right, because I did say the Titans were going to make the playoffs, but I thought the Texans were going to falter and miss, so I get half credit.
They didn't, yeah. Unfortunately, the Texans actually held it together for the last couple games of the season and took home their division championship. However, at 10-6, they're only the 4th seed, and they will be hosting the 10-6 Buffalo Bills.
You know, I'm going to go on record now saying I think the Titans are going to beat Tom Brady next week.
And the Titans are going up against Tom Brady because the Patriots shit the bed this week.
Dolphins.
And ended up missing out on their bye and having to play next week. And Tennessee is going to New England. I agree with you. I think Tennessee is going to win that game against New England.
I mean, they're just on fire. I saw the one misstep against Texans 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Tannehill finished the year, 6-2, 7-2?
Or something like that,
Ever since they put him in, the season turned around. I think they ride the wave of Tannehill, what he's doing, and Derrick Henry, the rushing champion.
Yeah, Derrick Henry takes home the rushing championship this season, 1,500 yards.
Coming? I mean, he was nowhere in the conversation halfway through the year, but it was like Chubb, McCaffrey, you know.
Derrick Henry is one of those big-bodied guys that at the end of the season you do not want to hit him, and you don't want him hitting you, so you just kind of let him go. He did the same thing last year. For all you fantasy championship guys, you want Derrick Henry on your roster at the end of the season, because last year he carried teams, and this year he's carrying teams.
The difference between Derrick Henry and Chris Carson is Derrick Henry has that second speed.
Yeah,
Chris Carson doesn't have that. He can't break those big runs.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry does. That's what separates Derrick Henry and Chris Carson.
So the 2 seed goes to Kansas City Chiefs at 12-4, and the 1 seed Baltimore Ravens. The Steelers miss out, going 8-8. And
yeah, but I want to take a second here and give it some shout out to Pittsburgh fans, because the Steelers, for them to get to 8-8 with what they had this year for quarterbacks, that's amazing. Mike Tomlin should be coach of the year. He won't get it because it will probably go to Harbaugh because he had Lamar Jackson or something, or Mike Vrabel in Tennessee because he pulled the team out of the ashes and when he put Tannehill in. But for Tomlin, who I think they started like 1-4 something, they were really bad to start with. Mm-hmm. And for them to end up in this last week, even with a chance at the playoffs, playing with basically 4-string quarterbacks, no wide receivers, and limited running backs.
So Indianapolis, Denver, Oakland, even the New York Jets squeak in there at 7-9 in the AFC. Those are just so middling.
Yeah, I almost wonder if that win today by the Jets might have saved Adam Gase's job, you know.
I don't know.
They got kind of on a roll here towards the end because they were like 3 wins here for a while deep into the season, and they ended up at 7.
So the Browns ended up at 6-10, dropping their last game of the season to the hapless Bengals. And lucky for the Bengals, they could win a game and still keep the first overall pick. So Freddie Kitchens gone. He got taken to the trash can. What should the Browns do for their coach?
I think they need to bring in an established person, someone that can kind of rein in Baker Mayfield, Mike McCarthy. I suppose if you could get one of the hotshot college coaches, I don't think any of the college coaches are leaving. I see Lincoln Riley leaving. I don't see Urban Meyer going to the pros. There's just too much easier of a life in college where you can control more things than you can in the NFL. I think they do need to bring in an established coach. Mike McCarthy would make a lot of sense. I don't like Ron Rivera, so I hope, well, if you're a Browns fan, you should not be happy if they hire Ron Rivera. But I hear Ron Rivera's heading to the Redskins, which is probably bad news for all Redskins fans.
It can't be that bad. I mean, considering what they've had, it's an improvement. It's still not great. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Ron Rivera either. I don't know who they're going to turn to in Cleveland, but I do know that team is far too talented to be a 6-10 team. They should have been a playoff team this season, but yeah, something needs to happen, and they went with the feel-good answer last year with Freddie Kitchens, and turns out it didn't work out real well for him.
It did, yeah. Everybody thought that him and Baker would be out, there'd be simpatico, right, and they'd be able to, improve. And it wasn't. Baker Mayfield had way too many bad games. Even today, threw like 2 or 3 picks. Just way too many turnovers. They've got way too much talent on that team with Chubb and Kareem Hunt and Landry and Odell Beckham and Joku when he's healthy. I mean, so many options. I understand that they missed Myles Garrett for the last 4 games, but...
All right, so we are going to go through... We are not going to be able to bring you another episode until just before, or the week before the Super Bowl, so we're going to go through our playoff predictions for what we expect to have happen over the next couple weeks with these trees. Let's see how right we are going to be. In the AFC, we've already said Bills and Texans. Bills at the Texans. Who wins that game?
I think the Bills are going to win this. I think it's going to be interesting because you've kind of got Deshaun Watson and Josh Allen, mobile quarterbacks. Who's going to be able to come up with the big game? Is it DeAndre Hopkins, or is it going to be their underrated guys like John Brown and Cole Beasley, Devin Singletary, controlling the ground game? I'm going to go with the Bills here. I think the Bills... I guess I'm picking underdogs for both games because I think the Bills and the Titans are winning this, which
and so
make
the
a lot
other
of
game
sense.
is 6-3. So Tennessee at New England, and yeah, I think we are both on the Tennessee Tannehills. They're going to take it. All right. So the following week we would see Tennessee at Baltimore and Buffalo at Kansas City. What do we think? Buffalo at Kansas City. How do we think that's going to play out? You think Buffalo can take it?
I don't think so. Kansas City's playing at a pretty high level here ever since Mahomes got back from missing those 3 weeks. I think Kansas City wins this one. Can they go into to Kansas City and pull off the win? I suppose they could. But Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, they get enough from their running backs, and you got Mahomes.
Can Josh Allen hang on to the ball well enough? Can they control the ball? Buffalo Bills probably have about as good of a chance as anyone against Kansas City Chiefs because of a ball control, slow, methodical, beat you up as they go down the field type team and keep Mahomes on the sideline.
I do think that this does set up 2 very interesting matchups, right? With the Titans and the Ravens and the Bills and the Chiefs. I mean, you look at the Ravens and the Titans, right? They're kind of the same, right? Pound the ball, run the ball, take your shots when you can, but they're very, very methodical.
Well, I think the Bills are the little brothers of the Ravens in what each team is attempting to do, and Josh Allen is like a cheaper version of Lamar Jackson, or a slightly lesser version. They're very similar. Where the Titans are a little more traditional with their running back situation in that they how they go about it, but they are a heavy run team. And similar in style to the Seahawks, or at least in terms of like the importance of that running game to how the offense functions. But you think both of the home teams are going to win that game or win their games?
Both teams win those, but would I be surprised if either one lost? I wouldn't be shocked.
I'd be surprised if the Ravens lost.
If Baltimore lost, but
yeah.
Tennessee with Derrick Henry getting hot and Tannehill, it's possible. Would I say likely? No, I'd probably give them like 25% chance of going in there, but they've got a fighter's chance. I'd say Buffalo maybe has a slightly better. Maybe they're 40-60, maybe even less, maybe 30-70, because Mahomes is a difference maker, and Josh Allen isn't to that stage yet.
I think Josh Allen needs a receiver to
like a
step
Tyreek
up.
Hill. That's what that offense is missing.
John Brown is a not good enough version of that. He needs a DK Metcalf. He needs a Tyreek Hill. He needs a true number one. He needs a DeAndre Hopkins. Maybe not so much about volume, but more explosive play. John Brown does fill that role pretty well for him, though.
So yeah, I'm gonna say that both those teams win, and that your championship game to go to Super Bowl is Kansas City at Baltimore. That's where I pick. As far as who wins,
are you picking Baltimore or are you picking Kansas City?
I'm gonna go and I'm gonna pick Kansas City.
Wow.
I'm gonna say Kansas City is gonna go to the Super Bowl.
Nope, Baltimore.
So we'll see here. We'll see who's right, because we got one going each way. I'm just a believer in Mahomes, and I think whenever the limelight is on him, it shines bright. I think he's a lot like Russell Wilson.
Lamar Jackson, MVP. MVP.
Lamar Jackson is the MVP, although Russell Wilson played like the MVP in that second half. He was surgical. And the throws he made were surgical. If he could have played like that in the first half, the game would have been different.
Sure, but he didn't.
But he didn't. Play calling was bad.
So in the NFC, the first week we have the Seahawks at the Eagles. We're going to be homers and we're picking our Seahawks over the hapless Eagles.
Yeah, I don't have anywhere to go. I don't think Minnesota beats the Saints, though.
And Minnesota at New Orleans.
I think the Saints are going to be the only home team that wins next week.
All right. So then the Seahawks would go to the 49ers, where you think how do you think that game's going to play out?
I'd love to be a homer and say they're going to win, but I guess it just depends on health. Like, who do we get back? Is Quandre Diggs back? Does Quandre Diggs make it back next week? Or is he back if we beat there and he's back for the 49ers game? We need Quandre Diggs. He's such a difference maker. And if you don't have Quandre Diggs, then I'm going to say the 49ers win that game. As much as it hurts my heart to pick the 49ers to beat the Seahawks in that game.
And the Saints at the Packers.
See, and that's where it gets interesting, because the Saints lose that home field, and now they got to go into Green Bay where the weather could be bad, and Drew Brees has never been great outside. I mean, he was probably really hoping that they did change that to a touchdown at the end there. That 1 millimeter short cost Drew Brees home field advantage throughout, and he's now got to go to Green Bay to have a chance to get to the Super Bowl. But I don't like how the Packers played today. They played down to the Lions. They've got so much. There's so much to play for today.
Yeah,
and they
somehow
nearly blew it.
Somehow the Lions almost pulled it out, and then the Lions coughed it up. They choked. What happened?
David Blah. I mean, they've just got no quarterback. I mean, if Stafford's playing, then the Packers aren't even in that game.
I guess it was some more illegal hands to the face or something.
You know,
the Lions should have won that first game earlier in the season. That was some crappy calls.
So, yeah, I'm gonna say that it's gonna be 49ers and Packers.
So the Packers beat the Saints, and then the Packers go to the 49ers. Who wins that game?
Hurts my heart. I'm gonna say the 49ers.
I can't do it. I'm picking the Packers.
It hurts my heart because my son is a huge 49ers fan, and it's gonna kill me. But
I think the Saints. Actually, I'm gonna change it up. I think the Saints beat the Packers. And then the Saints beat the Niners. The Saints to the Super Bowl, Baltimore, New Orleans, Super Bowl.
And I'm going with KC, San Francisco. Who's your winner then?
You'll have to tune in to the next episode to find out, to see if our predictions are even correct. All right, well, I think that's going to do it for this week. So follow us at Facebook on the GreyVillain Podcast, Twitter at GreyVillain Pod, YouTube GreyVillain. Like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification button. Tell us your Super Bowl picks and what are your playoff predictions, and we'll see who's right. But everything you do helps spread the word and gets us out there, so keep interacting with us. All right, stay cool. Peace.